Hold your horses, because today we're about to let the cat out of the bag on some of the most fascinating animal idioms out there. Whether you're busy as a bee or feeling ants in your pants, these phrases will make you howl with excitement and help you avoid looking like a deer in headlights during conversations. So let's not beat a dead horse. Grab the bull by the horns and get ready for a wild ride as we dive into idioms that will have you laughing, learning, and roaring with delight. Animals are part of our daily lives, so it's no surprise that English is packed with idioms and expressions inspired by them. These expressions help us describe actions, emotions, and situations in a fun and creative way. In this video, we'll explore the literal and figurative meanings of 20 animal idioms, break them down with the examples, and help you use them naturally in conversation. By the end of this, you'll sound as confident as a lion. So let's jump right in. Let the cat out of the bag. The literal meaning of this: imagine holding a bag that suddenly bursts open and a cat jumps out. Well, the secret is out, and everyone sees what was hidden in the bag. The simple meaning of this is to accidentally reveal a secret. For example, I let the cat out of the bag when I mentioned the surprise party. Another example, he let the cat out of the bag about the company's new project before the official announcement. This comes from history shopping in old markets. Dishonest sellers would trick customers by putting a cat inside of a bag instead of a pig. If the cat escaped and got out of the bag, well, the scam, lie, and trick was revealed. So everyone knew the cat was out of the bag. Don't buy from that bad seller. The elephant in the room. Imagine walking into a small room with a giant elephant standing in the middle of the room. It is impossible to ignore it. It's just there in the middle of the room. But everyone is pretending that it's not there. The figurative meaning of this is a big, obvious problem that nobody wants to talk about. They just ignore it and hope that it goes away. For example, nobody mentioned the company was going to lay off many people at work. It was an elephant in the room. Their argument last night was the elephant in the room at breakfast. Nobody wanted to talk about the same argument from last night again today. They just ignored it. This phrase comes from an old fable about people ignoring a massive elephant in a museum, symbolizing avoidance of difficult topics. Supposedly. Kill two birds with one stone. The literal meaning of this would mean to throw one stone and somehow manage to hit and kill two birds at the same time. Very impressive. The simple meaning of this means to multitask or to solve two problems with one action. For example, by exercising while listening to an audiobook, I killed two birds with one stone. Example 2. She killed two birds with one stone by finishing her homework while waiting at the doctor's office. In history, this phrase comes from ancient hunting techniques, where people aimed to hit multiple birds with a single throw or arrow. Busy as a bee. The literal meaning of this, picture a buzzing beehive. Thousands of bees constantly flying and working and collecting nectar with no rest. So the simple figurative meaning of this is very hard working and always active. For example, Sarah has been a busy bee preparing for the wedding. She never seems to be finished preparing. Example 2, during exam week, students are always busy as a bee studying and preparing for their finals. History of this, bees have symbolized hard work for centuries because of their non-stop activity, so it only makes sense that we would adapt this to show the hard-working characteristics of humans. Here's one that could have been in last week's weather idiom episode. We're talking about raining cats and dogs. The literal meaning of this, imagine looking up at the sky and instead of seeing raindrops, you saw cats and dogs falling. Chaos everywhere. The figurative meaning of this means very heavy rain. Take an umbrella. It's raining cats and dogs outside. Oh, we had to cancel the picnic because it was raining cats and dogs out. The history of this is interesting. It comes from Old England, where heavy storms would wash animals off the roofs of houses and into the streets. So back in Old England, it might have literally been raining cats and dogs. The next idiom we have is hold your horses. The literal meaning of this would be picturing a rider pulling back on the reins, stopping a horse from charging forward, or standing in front of a horse and holding it so it doesn't move forward. But the figurative meaning of this means to wait, slow down, be patient. All right? You'll hear mothers saying this to their children when they are running around a store actively crazy. But hold your horses. The show hasn't started yet. Example 2, before making a big decision, hold your horses and think it through. The history of this idiom comes from the era of when horse-drawn carriages were controlling horses was crucial. You had to hold your horse, and you had to be patient, and you had to wait your turn to go. Crocodile tears. The literal meaning of this would be a crocodile shedding fake tears while eating its prey to make it feel bad. The simple figurative meaning of this is fake sadness or pretending to feel sorry. 2 examples for you. He cried crocodile tears when he got caught cheating, but we knew he wasn't sorry. Example 2, she showed crocodile tears after breaking my cell phone. Yeah, I'm sorry. The phrase of this in history comes from an ancient myth that crocodiles cry to appear harmless. Fish out of water, fish out of water. The literal meaning of this would be to imagine a fish flopping around on land, gasping for air, struggling to survive. It's what happens when a fish is not in its natural home and cannot breathe. The literal figurative meaning of this would mean to feel uncomfortable in a new situation. Just like you take the fish out of its natural environment and put it on land, it doesn't belong there. It's a new place and it feels uncomfortable. It can't breathe. So for example, at my new job, I felt like a fish out of water. Example 2. When I moved to South Korea, I felt like a fish out of water trying to learn the new cultural, acceptable things of this country. So the history of this describes the helplessness of a fish removed from its natural environment. Like a bull in a china shop. The literal meaning of this would mean to put a massive, giant bull into a china shop that sells plates and cups and vases that are very expensive. So imagine watching a bull try to walk through a store with all this fragile, delicate porcelain breaking everything in its path. The simple meaning of this is someone who is clumsy or reckless in a delicate situation. Be careful. You are acting like a bull in a china shop, which would mean that you are acting very aggressive and you need to calm down. He knocked over everything in the store, just like a bull in a china shop. The history of this idiom originates from the fear of large, powerful animals causing destruction. But what's funny is the TV show Mythbusters did an episode of this where they put a bull in a china shop. And guess what? It very carefully walked through each row and didn't break a single piece of china. Very interesting. The early bird catches the worm. The literal meaning of this is a bird that wakes up before the other birds has the first chance at catching food that morning. So the simple figurative meaning of this would mean that people who act first get the best opportunity. It doesn't have to mean waking up early. It just means being the first to jump on an opportunity means that you have the best chance to get that opportunity. For example, she wakes up at 5 a.m. to study. The early bird catches the worm. If you want front row concert tickets to Taylor Swift, you have to book them early. The early bird catches the worm. In history, this proverb encourages taking action before others. Don't be lazy, don't procrastinate, get up and do what you need to do. Barking up the wrong tree. The literal meaning of this, imagine a hunting dog chasing an animal that you're trying to hunt. It's helping you. And the prey runs up the tree, and the dog starts barking up that tree. But it ran up that tree, and the dog is barking up this tree. So the dog is literally barking up the wrong tree. There's no animal up there that you're trying to catch. But the figurative meaning of this means to make a mistake by blaming the wrong person or taking the wrong approach. So, for example, if you think I stole your pen, you are barking up the wrong tree. The police investigated Tom, but they were barking up the wrong tree. It was someone else. The history of this idiom comes from hunting, where dogs sometimes would bark at the wrong tree, missing their target. So this one also has a second meaning. It means that somebody might be more dangerous than you think they are. For example, I was arguing with a short man, but he was a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I was barking up the wrong tree because he is a more talented fighter and much stronger than me. So that would be the second idiom. If he's telling me, don't mess with me, you're barking up the wrong tree, he is giving a fair warning to me about something.